10 things a Stoic will never chase. Have you ever felt exhausted from chasing things that, deep down, you knew weren't truly meant for you? How many times have you forced yourself to appear okay, just to be loved, to be accepted, to not be left behind? We live in an age where everything is fueled by the pressure to be better than others, to stand out more, earn more, be more talented, more beautiful, more successful. And if you can't keep up, you're labeled a failure. That silent pressure, even when no one says it out loud, still weighs heavily on each of us. It forces us into endless races. We live for the gaze of others. We act to earn applause. We grow tired from constantly trying to become someone without daring to be ourselves. But if you've ever heard of Stoicism, of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, or Seneca, you'll know they chose a different path. A Stoic doesn't live to be admired. They live to preserve peace of mind. They don't chase flashy things because they understand. The most dazzling things are often the most fleeting. And if you place your happiness in what's fleeting, you will always live in insecurity. Right now, let's walk through 10 things a Stoic will never chase. Not because they're weak, not because they're quitters, but because they understand one truth. Life is short. Choose only what's truly worth pursuing. Rule 1. Praise and external validation. Have you ever felt your heart flutter just because someone praised you? Or felt an emptiness when no one applauded your efforts? We grow up in a world that teaches success must be applauded, effort must be recognized. Doing good is meant to be praised. Worse still, happiness is measured by how others look at you, not by the peace that comes from within. But the Stoics, more than 2,000 years ago, saw clearly the danger in living this way. They didn't oppose praise, but they didn't live waiting for it. They didn't need applause to know their worth. Because as Epictetus once said, if you are disturbed by praise or blame, you've made yourself a slave to others. Why is this so important? Because if you live for praise, you'll die from criticism. If you always need validation, you'll never know what enough means. You'll forever wear a mask, playing roles society expects of you, and lose the truth of who you really are. A Stoic doesn't live to please the crowd. They live in alignment with reason, the noblest part of being human. Marcus Aurelius, a powerful emperor and yet a humble philosopher, wrote in Meditations, "No one really cares what you do. They only care if it serves their own interest. Live according to your nature." That nature refers to reason, to virtue, to the capacity to discern what truly matters. Praise, however sweet, is not a measure of virtue. Applause, however tempting, doesn't make you more rational. The issue isn't whether people praise you. The issue is, do you live for praise? Do you act to be recognized? Or because it's the right thing to do? The Stoic chooses the second. They act out of integrity. They live with virtue, not to impress, but because it's right. And when they do something good without anyone noticing, they still smile, because that doesn't diminish the value of their action. To a Stoic, value lies in the nature of the action, not in how others perceive it. If today you did the right thing, but no one praised you, if you gave your best effort and no one noticed, remember this: you don't need a spotlight to shine. You only need a soul that doesn't stray. And if you struggle when you're not recognized, ask yourself Epictetus's question. Do you want to be admired, or do you want to be truly worthy of admiration? If you choose the second, you've already begun to live like a Stoic. External validation may glitter, but it's dangerous. And now we move on to thing 2, another pursuit a Stoic absolutely avoids: fame. Because when you live to be famous, you'll always have to scream through your own insecurity. Rule 2, fame and social image. Have you ever felt like you were living under the gaze of others? Have you grown tired of trying to maintain a perfect image, just to be accepted, to be liked, to avoid being judged? We live in a world where one unflattering photo, one careless comment, one misstep can make you the center of gossip, and gradually you become a puppet of social expectations. The Stoic sees this for what it is, a subtle trap. When you let the eyes of others shape your identity, you've already lost your deepest freedom, inner freedom. Epictetus once reminded his students, if you want to make progress, be willing to be thought foolish, stupid, or strange. Don't try to seem reasonable to others. This isn't a challenge to society, it's an invitation. Return to yourself. A Stoic doesn't deny the importance of social relationships, but they never chase a public image to please the crowd, because they know all images are temporary. Today you're celebrated, tomorrow destroyed. Marcus Aurelius, while sitting on the throne of one of the world's largest empires, still admitted, fame is just an echo. It doesn't live with you, and it won't die with you. Focus on character. That's what stays with you to the end. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach you to isolate yourself or be insensitive to the world. It teaches you not to be swayed by applause or criticism. A Stoic walks tall before the crowd, not to stand out, but because they refuse to bend for expectations that aren't theirs. In a time when everyone edits themselves to fit the frame of social media, the Stoic chooses to live honestly, even if it looks ugly in others' eyes, if that honesty keeps them true to themselves. So they never chase fame, they chase virtue. It's not looking good that makes the Stoic do the right thing. It's the right thing that makes them truly radiant from within. Rule 3. Perfection and the fear of failure. In a world where every mistake is scrutinized, where slip-ups go viral faster than congratulations, people have learned to fear imperfection. We're taught that failure is shameful, that if you're not good from the start, you're just not good enough. So we stop trying, we stop beginning, we stop walking our own path, unless we're sure we'll win. And so the obsession with being perfect becomes a mental shackle. But the Stoic sees it differently. Epictetus said, don't demand that things happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do, and you'll live in peace. A Stoic doesn't pursue perfection because they know it's an illusion. Life is messy, humans are limited, and the only thing you can control is your response to that imperfection. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, made many mistakes, but he didn't hide them. He faced them, confronted unpleasant truths, and learned to grow through them. A Stoic doesn't judge themselves by success. They judge themselves by their courage to live in accordance with reason, regardless of outcome. Because you can't control results, but you can control your conduct. You can't stop others from misunderstanding you, but you can choose not to betray yourself. The Stoic allows themselves to fail, not because they're mediocre, but because they know failure doesn't make you worthless. Failure is part of the process. Seneca once wrote to Lucilius, "We study to be strong, not so we never fall, but so we know how to rise again every time we fall." To the Stoic, every failure is a chance to sharpen reason, to train persistence, to cultivate humility and awareness. Growth doesn't come from smooth victories. It comes from painful self-reflection and the choice to keep moving forward. They don't chase the image of perfection because it creates false pressure, forcing you to be someone you're not. A mask, a performance, a life of fear that someone might discover you're human after all. And that's exhausting. So if you find yourself trying to do everything flawlessly, without slip-ups, without weakness, pause, take a breath, step back and ask, am I living to become someone with reason, or just a shadow chasing unrealistic expectations? The Stoic chooses truth, even when it's not glamorous. They choose to learn from reality. Even when it hurts, they choose honesty with themselves, over polishing their ego. So don't run from failure. Embrace it as part of the journey. Give yourself space to learn, to try, to fall and get up, without shame. And always remember this: there is no road to wisdom that doesn't pass through the detours of failure. Rule 4. Manipulation and the need to control others. Have you ever tried to change someone? Tried persuading your partner to understand you better? Felt angry when your coworker didn't work the way you wanted? Grew frustrated because your parents wouldn't listen to your advice, even though you just wanted the best for them? There's a hard truth to accept. We spend too much time, energy, even our whole lives trying to control things outside our control. And what's more painful, sometimes we call that control love. We justify emotional manipulation with the phrase, "I just want what's best for you." But can anyone truly be happy while being controlled? A Stoic understands this. The only person you can change is yourself, not because they are cold, but because they are clear-eyed, not because they give up, but because they choose to let go of the right things. Epictetus once said, "Freedom and happiness begin with understanding this principle. Some things are within our control, and others are not." You can't control others' thoughts, emotions, or choices. You can inspire but not force. You can advise but not live their life for them. A Stoic does not seek to manipulate because they respect others' inner freedom. They understand every person is a separate universe. No one can be pulled out of darkness if they aren't ready to open their eyes. Marcus Aurelius, though an emperor with ultimate authority, still wrote in Meditations, "You may educate others, but do not try to coerce them. Every soul has its own path to awakening." Manipulation is a symptom of insecurity. When you're unsure whether someone still loves you, you control. When you fear betrayal, you manipulate. When you don't understand yourself, you try to mold others into what you think is right. The Stoic chooses the opposite path. Instead of controlling others, they adjust themselves. Instead of manipulating, they lead by example. Seneca once wrote, "Words can instruct, but actions are what quietly and deeply transform others." If you want someone to be better, live in a way they respect. If you want someone to understand you, first learn to understand yourself. If you truly love someone, give them the freedom to choose, even if that choice doesn't include you. The Stoic releases the need to control, and in doing so, gains control over themselves. Letting go of control is not weakness. It is strength turned inward. You no longer depend on others behaving a certain way for your peace. You no longer manipulate just to survive. You simply live rightly and allow the rest to unfold as it must. That is true courage, and it is the deepest form of liberation. Before we continue to Jungian, attention and the glamour of social media, if you've stayed with us this far, don't forget to subscribe to Stoicism Empire. It's not just a click. It's a declaration to walk with reason and awareness in a chaotic world. Rule 5. Attention and the glamour of social media. Have you ever posted a photo and kept checking how many likes it got? Have you ever looked at a stranger with hundreds of thousands of followers and quietly wondered, where did I go wrong in life? Here's a truth the modern world rarely admits. We are addicted to attention. It's no longer about connection, but obsession with validation. No longer about sharing, but the fear of being forgotten. Every day, millions step onto social media like a stage. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be praised. But what is the cost? A generation losing sleep over a missing heart reaction. People lost in curating a personal brand, while forgetting who they really are. A Stoic will never chase attention, because to them, inner light matters more than spotlight. Inner peace is worth more than digital applause. Marcus Aurelius, once worshipped by millions of citizens, still wrote in Meditations, "Do not concern yourself with what others think of you. Concern yourself with whether you are living according to reason." Epictetus taught, "If you want true progress, be content to be seen as foolish by others. They have the right to think it. You have no obligation to respond. A Stoic understands. Attention is a sweet trap. It makes you tie your self-worth to how others look at you. It robs your freedom because you're always performing. The irony is painful. The more you crave to be loved, the more you lose yourself. The more you try to prove your worth to the crowd, the more empty you feel when you're alone. A Stoic chooses the opposite. They don't need a big following, just reason, walking beside them like a loyal friend. They don't seek the spotlight. They seek clarity, truth, and self-mastery. Seneca once said, "A person's worth isn't measured by how many fans they have, but by how well they govern themselves when no one is watching." In a world where everyone wants to be remembered, a Stoic lives in a way they never forget themselves. You have nothing to prove. You don't need to be more beautiful, more popular, more entertaining to be loved. You only need to be yourself and live by reason. True peace doesn't come from likes. It comes from self-acceptance, even when no one is watching. And if you're still here watching this far, it means you're not staying for flashiness, but for a deeper understanding. So, welcome to Stoicism Empire, where the light isn't on a stage, but in every quiet moment of inner reflection. Which quote from Marcus, Seneca, or Epictetus impacted you most? Pin it in the comments as your daily reminder. And don't forget to subscribe or share this video with a friend who might be weary of chasing online validation. Rule 6. Superiority over others. From a young age, we were taught, you must be smarter, faster, more excellent to have value. In school, we tried to score higher than the person sitting next to us. At work, we raced to outdo colleagues. On social media, we secretly compared our engagement numbers with others and quietly felt sad. This society, though rarely saying it outright, constantly encourages a competitive way of life, an endless contest to become a better version than others. But to Stoicism, this is a regrettable waste, because you don't need to be superior to anyone, you only need to master yourself. Epictetus said it clearly, do not lower yourself by comparing with others. Each person has their own path to progress, and it is not a race. And Marcus Aurelius emphasized, when you wake each morning, ask yourself, how can I live according to reason today? Not, how can I surpass others? Here lies the essence. The Stoic does not seek superiority. They seek progress. They don't want to stand above others. They want to stand firm within themselves. When you strive to stand out above others, you hand over your self-worth to external standards. But when you compare only your today's self with yesterday's self, you live as a philosopher. We don't need to be the best. We only need to grow steadily in the right direction. Seneca once wrote, true success is not being admired, but being able to sleep peacefully with yourself each night. Why do the Stoics refuse to chase superiority over others? Because they know today's peak becomes tomorrow's normal. The person you surpass today, someone else will surpass you tomorrow. This game never ends, and it devours the most fragile minds. The Stoic chooses a different game, to become the kindest, most rational, and calmest version of themselves. Not to stand out, just to be consistent. Not to stand above anyone, just not to collapse before themselves. And that is the truest victory, an inner victory. If you find yourself caught in the whirlpool of must be better than others, pause, breathe, look inward, ask yourself, am I living for reason or for the eyes of others? Don't forget to share your reflections in the comments. Stoicism Empire walks with you, not to make you greater than others, but to help you find greater peace each day. Rule 7. Complete freedom from all attachments. In modern society, people often dream of something called absolute freedom. No attachments, no commitments, no responsibilities to anyone, no dependence on work, people, obligations, or emotions. A kind of freedom where you can walk away anytime. You don't need anyone, owe anyone, or be stopped by anyone. You live like the wind, and you think that is light, ideal. But Stoicism would ask you one short question: freedom from what and for what? Because not all attachments are chains. Being alone is not always freedom. Escaping relationships or obligations does not necessarily mean you've liberated yourself. Marcus Aurelius, a great emperor yet deeply contemplative, once wrote, "True freedom is not being unbound, but not being enslaved by desire and fear." That line alone is enough to make even wanderers pause and think. Why? Because the Stoics understand humans always live within connections, with family, with society, with community, and most of all, with their own inner self. What they strive to abandon is not relationships or responsibilities, but mental dependence. Dependence on emotions, on approval, on false security, on hatred, on expectations that others must understand and fulfill your desires. The freedom the Stoic pursues is spiritual freedom, the ability to master their emotions, to live according to reason, not reaction, to choose their actions, not be driven by circumstance. You may live alone, but your mind is still imprisoned by the past. You may travel the world, but your heart is still bound to others' opinions. You may have no commitments, yet you live in anxiety from lacking true connection. Is that kind of freedom really freedom? Epictetus was once a slave, yet he was the freest of men in thought because he did not let circumstance decide his mood. He did not need to be released because his mind had never been chained. Seneca wrote, "Freedom is when you are no longer disturbed by anything you cannot control." Thus, the Stoic does not chase absolute freedom from all ties. They choose the right commitments and learn not to be ruled by them. They understand a promise to others may be a burden, but it is also honor. A responsibility to family may weigh on us, but it also gives meaning. A commitment may take away some external freedom, but it strengthens inner freedom. True freedom is not escaping everything, but knowing what to keep and holding it with reason. Maybe you're weary from too many responsibilities. Maybe you want to drop everything, run far away, and call it liberation. But remember, no place in this world can save you if you haven't freed yourself from your own mind. If you are pursuing freedom, ask yourself, what do I want to be free from? And what will I do with that freedom? Share your thoughts in the comments. Stoicism. Empire always listens to minds seeking true peace. Rule 8. The illusion of absolute safety. Have you ever wished that one day you'd have enough money to never worry again? You'd have a stable job for life? You'd love someone who would never leave? You'd live in a place with no danger, no insecurity, no uncertainty? You're waiting for an ideal state where you'll be protected, where no one can hurt you, where everything is certain and under control. That is the dream of absolute safety. And then, reality strikes you in the face. That stable job can vanish in a single wave of layoffs. The one you thought would never leave may change in a moment. That safe environment can become dangerous after one accident. Even your health is not something you absolutely control. Seneca once said, "We suffer not from what happens, but from believing it would never happen." The Stoic does not chase absolute safety because they know it doesn't exist. This world is a ceaseless current of change. Everything is temporary, changeable, beyond your control. You may love, but you cannot control another's heart. You may care for your health, but you cannot control sudden accidents. You may save every penny, but you cannot control global economic shifts. And the more you cling to absolute safety, the more you live in anxiety, suspicion, fear. The Stoic doesn't run from this. They learn to accept uncertainty as part of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "When an event happens, do not say, "I have lost it," but say, "I have returned it." That reflects a radical mindset. Nothing is permanent possession. Everything is borrowed and must be returned when the time comes. Instead of seeking perfect safety, the Stoic builds inner stability. They don't try to control the world. They learn to control their response to it. You will never find a flawless shelter from uncertainty, but you can build a soul strong enough not to be swept away when storms hit. True safety doesn't come from a place, a person, or a perfect plan. It comes from mental preparation, from the ability to rise after falling, from knowing you are not immortal, but you can still live fully with reason and courage. If you've ever felt exhausted from worrying about everything, remember, safety doesn't exist, but you can grow strong enough not to fear what hasn't come. Share your experiences about this in the comments, so others may see they are not alone in the journey of cultivating inner courage. Rule 9. The sense of complete control over life. We are often haunted by the idea, if I could control everything, I would be at peace. We plan every step, prepare for every worst-case scenario, force ourselves to succeed according to schedule. And when life goes off track, we fall into chaos. Why? Because we believe we should be able to control everything. We believe we can dictate how others react. We can control the outcome of our efforts. We can predict the future if we're smart and thorough enough. But the Stoics don't think this way. Epictetus, a man who once lived as a slave, understood this more than anyone. He taught, some things are up to us and some things are not. The key is not in controlling everything. It is in clearly distinguishing what is in our hands and what is not. You can choose to speak kindly, but you cannot force others to understand. You can train and compete with all your might, but you cannot guarantee victory. You can invest wisely, but you cannot stop the market from collapsing. When you equate "I did the right thing" with "I will get the outcome I want," you are setting yourself up for disappointment. The Stoics refuse to chase the sense of complete control because they know absolute control is a sweet but dangerous illusion. Instead of betting on outcomes, they place their trust in their actions. They cherish effort, not the result. They commit to values, not achievements. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do the right thing. Don't expect recognition. That belongs to nature, not to you." In other words, you may sow, but you cannot command the seed to sprout. You may love, but you cannot force another to return it. You may care, but you cannot save everyone. When you let go of the illusion of complete control, you also release a persistent anxiety. You no longer live in a state of constant strain. You act with awareness and accept outcomes with calmness. You are not indifferent. You are someone who understands. In a transient life, the only thing you truly control is your inner self and your actions. Are you living under the pressure of controlling everything? If the answer is yes, allow yourself to exhale and begin with something simple. Control how you face what you cannot control. Share in the comments. What makes you feel the most out of control right now? Perhaps your honesty may help someone else find their own inner peace. Rule 10. Endless happiness and constant positive emotions. In today's age, happiness seems to have become a social mandate. On social media, people share moments of joy, laughter, success, delight, as if that is the standard of a good life. You open your phone and are surrounded by images of people always radiant, always optimistic, always enjoying life. And you ask yourself, why don't I feel as happy as they do? Is something wrong with me? That's when you fall into a trap. The trap of one of the most dangerous modern illusions. Endless happiness and constant positive emotions. The Stoics would never chase this. Not because they are pessimistic or cold, but because they understand true joy does not come from escaping sadness. Seneca once wrote, "Life is not a series of happy days, but a series of opportunities to live rightly. To the Stoics, sadness, anger, anxiety, confusion are all natural parts of life. Trying to throw them away only makes you more restless and disconnected from yourself. They don't try to replace sadness with laughter. They learn to stand alongside sadness, as if standing with an honest friend. Marcus Aurelius once reflected, "If you are suffering, see it as an opportunity to train your strength of mind." What does that mean? It means you don't need to always be happy. You need reason to always recognize what you're feeling and choose to respond in ways that don't harm yourself. The Stoics seek tranquility, not emotional highs. They choose inner stability over chasing fleeting moods. They understand clarity in pain is worth 100 times more than momentary excitement. Why? Because joy cannot be an obligation. Because positive emotions cannot be a standard product. Because maturity is not measured by how many happy days you have, but by how you live through the sad ones. For the Stoic, happiness is knowing you don't have to be happy all the time. If you feel empty because you can't maintain cheerfulness, don't blame yourself. See it as a reminder. You don't need happiness to live rightly. You only need to live authentically and with awareness of yourself. Philosophical conclusion. After all, the Stoic does not strive to become someone special. They simply strive each day to return to themselves, not chasing fame, not chasing attention, not trying to control others, not running from negative emotions, not clinging to the illusion of safety, and above all, not turning happiness into a goal to be achieved at all costs. Stoic philosophy does not promise a life without pain, but it helps you suffer with dignity. It helps you fail without collapse. It teaches you to stay calm in what cannot be changed, and to act firmly in what is within your hands. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be rational, virtuous, and resilient. And each day, live as if you are training to become a better human. Not for admiration, not for praise, but because you believe that is a life worth living. Live as if the person you admire most were watching you, and that person is your future self. If there is one truth the Stoic always carries, it is this: nothing is more valuable than a mind disciplined and freed from illusion. If you have watched until here, perhaps you too are on the journey of returning to your strongest self, and if so, you are not alone. Walk with us on the Stoic path. Which of these 10 resonated with you the most? Or is there something you are quietly letting go of each day? Share in the comments so each of us can learn and grow from each other's stories. Stoicism Empire, a disciplined mind, a free life.